So Dark Horse Comics had originally planned to do this massive comic arc detailing an extragalactic invasion. Lucasfilm was impressed with their idea, but they decided to turn it over to their books division, that is Del Rey. This comic book mini-series, that is the Chewbacca mini-series, is an anthology-like series which consists of different stories of Chewbacca's past as recounted by those paying respects to the fallen Wookiee, including Luke, Leia, Han, and other main characters. In this comic book, we see R2D2 and C3PO. They are interviewing different people about stories relating to Chewbacca for a memorial. The first story is about Chewie's wife and how Chewie met her. There's this short account in which we also see Chewbacca encountering a few Trandoshan slavers. This was a pretty decent story. In the second story, we see Chewie's father recalling an event in which Chewie fought with a Wookiee. The Wookiee had white fur, and that's all I remember about him. What I found best about this story was the fact that in the last panel, I think, Chewbacca's father says, "How can my moon be a match for my son?" This was one of the best parts of this comic because his father just couldn't believe that Chewbacca had died. The third one is about Chewbacca saving Wookiee slaves from Trandoshan slavers despite the Wookiees being from different clans and having some sort of rivalry. Nothing much in this one. The next one, the fourth story, is A Chance Encounter. It was one of the worst stories in here. It's about Chewbacca saving this girl who got blasted by her own ship. There was a man who looked like Lando and he was after her ship. This story was pretty useless in my opinion. Instead, they could have showed maybe R2D2 or C3PO themselves reminiscing about Chewbacca. It was pretty much a waste. The fifth one is about Chewbacca saving the children of a Wookiee clan. It was another decent one. A couple of cool things in this one are the fact that we see Han Solo meeting Chewbacca, and at this point of time, Han is in the Imperial Navy. And we also see in the end that Chewie's face has been carved into this tree on Kashyyyk. The sixth one it's called a pilot's anecdote, and it was a rather fun one in comparison to the other more emotional accounts. We see Wedge telling a story about how once he took off with his X-Wing despite Chewie doing some repairs. So in the comic book, you can see Chewie, he's holding on to Wedge's X-Wing, and he's also jumping on other TIE fighters and all. So this was a pretty fun one. In the seventh one, we see Lando and Chewie, they go to this planet where they encounter some Imperial remnants. I think I said this in my Vector Prime review too, that I did not like the way Lando reacted to Chewbacca's death in that book, because he was just excited about showing Luke a coral skipper. In this story, at the end, Lando's just sitting there and thinking if Chewbacca ever saw him as a friend, because Lando always considered him a friend. So he was just thinking if Chewbacca ever considered Lando himself as a friend. So I think this was a better perspective of Lando, how Lando reacted to Chewbacca's death. In the eighth one, we see Leia. This was another weird one. In this, Leia is telling the droids that she didn't want Chewbacca. She thought that he distracted Han or something like that. I didn't like this idea. I think there was a similar scene in Vector Prime in which Leia is jealous that she's just jealous about Mara and Jaina's relationship. And the second last one, we see Luke. He recalls Chewbacca's death. Some of you might be wondering how did Luke know about Chewbacca? Because Luke wasn't there with Chewbacca when he died. It's easily explained because he saw it through the Force. He got to know it through the Force. So it's It's almost like an adaptation of Chewbacca's death from the Vector Prime novel. I think it was pretty good, except Anakin, who was drawn a bit weird, in my opinion. Anyways, the last one, the 10th one, is probably the best one in this mini-series. It's about Han Solo. He's in the Millennium Falcon and telling the droid the story about Chewbacca. The story was pretty decent, but in the end, he finds this drawing of Chewbacca drawn by his children, and he remembers that one thing he never told Chewbacca was that he loved Chewbacca.